On the eve of the wedding, my legs, paralyzed from saving Ryan Sterling, were finally completely healed. Filled with joy, I rushed to find him, only to unexpectedly see him embracing the poor student I had sponsored, who was receiving a treatment to secure the pregnancy. After the injection, Brittany Davies giggled and pulled Ryan Sterling into the accessible restroom in the hospital. "Ryan, the baby is quite stable now. Don't you want to try a different kind of pleasure? And being here should remind you of Olivia, making it even more exciting, right?" "Shut up! Who allowed you to joke about Liv?" Ryan Sterling snapped, but moments later, their muffled sounds of heavy breathing came from inside. I felt frozen to the bone. I never imagined that the man who had always cherished me, who said he would only touch me after we were married, had long been deeply infatuated with another woman, and even had a child with her. I decided not to tell Ryan Sterling that I had recovered, and I wasn't going to marry him anymore. Turning around, I sent a message to my mother, "Mom, let's change my arranged marriage partner to Ryan Sterling's older brother, David Sterling. As for Ryan Sterling, I don't want him at all." After a long while, Ryan Sterling emerged, reluctantly holding Brittany Davies. I followed them to a mansion. Through the open front door of the mansion, Ryan Sterling's friends, each holding streamers and party poppers, cheered the moment the two stepped inside. "Congrats on the pregnancy, Brittany." "Big congratulations to Ryan on becoming a soon-to-be father." I covered my mouth, watching the scene. The next second, Eleanor Sterling also walked out from the side. "Let me touch my grandchild quickly. Thanks to Miss Brittany for being so fruitful and getting pregnant before Ryan's wedding, otherwise, I would never have agreed to let my Ryan marry that crippled woman." Ryan Sterling's best friend also echoed, "Exactly. If it weren't for our Ryan's strong sense of responsibility, who in capital city would marry Olivia, that disabled woman? Putting on airs like a rich young lady all the time, I don't think she's half as good as Brittany. Once Brittany gives birth to the baby, I'll be the first to volunteer to be the godfather." Ryan Sterling's face darkened slightly at these words. "Say less of that from now on. After all, Liv was injured trying to save me. You should show her more respect." The others still looked at me dismissively, egging the couple on to kiss as future parents. Ryan Sterling looked at Brittany Davies with soft eyes, then pulled her close for a deep kiss. I stumbled away from the scene, running home in a daze. Only then did I realize that the mansion where Ryan Sterling was secretly keeping a mistress was right behind our own residence. The pain was so intense my tears were about to dry up. It was hard to imagine that the people who used to affectionately call me sweet daughter-in-law and respectfully call me your fiancé could have such ugly faces. Just then, my mother called, "Honey, David Sterling has agreed to the arranged marriage. And he wants it as soon as possible, preferably an engagement announcement event tomorrow. Honey, what do you think? Since that scoundrel Ryan Sterling isn't treating you well, let's get rid of him sooner rather than later, shall we?" I choked back a sob and said yes. In a world so full of lies, the sooner I could leave, the better. It was close to midnight when Ryan Sterling finally returned, a hidden smile of happiness still on his face. "Liv, work was really too busy today. Liv, why are you crying?" He rushed to my wheelchair, his eyes red with distress. "Does your leg hurt again? I wish I could bear the pain for you. Relax, let your husband rub it for you." He carried me upstairs, just like always, and massaged my legs. Every time I told him to just find a caregiver to help me, he'd say he didn't trust anyone else and would never delegate something he could do for me himself. Looking at his seemingly devoted and meticulous actions now, only sarcasm remained in my heart. "Right, I went to the hospital today, and the doctor said." I started the conversation, and Ryan Sterling's eyes instantly filled with tension. "You went to the hospital? Liv, you didn't see anyone you knew, did you?" The absurd scene flashed before me again. I scoffed lightly and shook my head. Ryan Sterling breathed a sigh of relief. "Liv, it's not safe for you to go out alone. Tell your husband in advance where you want to go from now on, or I'll worry." Was he worried about something happening to me, or worried about me discovering his affair? As for the future, Ryan Sterling, we wouldn't have one soon. Ryan Sterling warmed her milk for me and coaxed me to take her medication, just like every day. After he left the room, I spit out the tablet I had held under my tongue. Now that I was recovered, there was no need for the medication. However, in the middle of the night, my door suddenly opened. My heart tightened instinctively. The next second, the sounds of a man and woman kissing and gasping filled the air. "Ryan, be careful of the baby." My heart jumped, and I opened my eyes in disbelief, looking at the reflection in the window. On the back of the bedroom door, Ryan Sterling was burying his face in Brittany Davies's neck passionately, her clothes half removed in an instant. I suddenly realized this was definitely not the first time they had done this. The medication for my treatment contained a sedative, and usually, I slept through the night. The next second, Ryan Sterling confirmed my suspicion. "Little Minx, you're usually pretty loud in here, aren't you? Why so demure today?" Ryan Sterling increased the intensity, making the door pound with reckless abandon. Tears streamed from my eyes, but Brittany Davies suddenly started sobbing. "You just know how to bully me." "It's just that I was thinking, tomorrow is David's engagement party, and all your relatives will be there." "I don't care, but the baby needs to meet his relatives, right?" Ryan Sterling sternly refused. "No, I can only bring Liv to an occasion like that." Brittany Davies cried even louder. "I know, I've never been able to compare to Olivia. If it weren't for loving you, why would I be your mistress, making the baby hide like me?" Ryan Sterling kissed away the woman's tears with a pained heart. After a moment of hesitation, he finally gave in. All right, I'll take you, you little crybaby. You're really getting good at wearing me down. Stop crying, okay? Let me kiss you." The mattress beside me suddenly dipped. Ryan Sterling pulled Brittany Davies onto my bed, and his attack shifted from earlier urgency to tender caresses. It wasn't until the sky outside started to lighten that he picked up a gently sleeping Brittany Davies and left. Tears soaked my pillow. I closed my eyes wearily. Sleep. When I woke up again, I could be someone else's bride and wash away all this humiliation. "Wake up, lazybones, hurry and get up, honey, drink your porridge and then take your medication by mid-morning." Ryan Sterling, smelling of shower gel, woke me up and leaned down to kiss me. Ignoring the surprise in his eyes, I dodged him and looked at the porridge he had brought back. Shrimp and grits from the corner cafe, Brittany Davies's favorite. It was also something that would interact negatively with my medication and cause me to have an allergic reaction. In the past, Ryan Sterling remembered these things better than I did. I gave a self-mocking smile. "I don't have an appetite. I'll drink it later." Ryan Sterling still hadn't caught on. "Okay, Liv, just remember not to let it get cold. David is coming back from abroad tonight for the engagement party. It'll be crowded, and I'm worried you'll feel uncomfortable, so I won't bring you this time. You stay home, honey, and your husband will come back early to be with you." I lowered my gaze and suddenly asked, "Ryan Sterling, what would you think if the person engaged to David was me?" Ryan Sterling instinctively scoffed. "David is the backbone of the Sterling family. The Sterling family elders would never allow him to marry a crippled." He stopped when he realized what he had said and quickly changed the subject. "Liv, don't ever say things like that again that make me jealous. We love each other so much, of course, you can only be my wife in this life." Before I could respond, Ryan Sterling's phone notification chimed. His eyes lit up, and leaving behind a "honey, wait for me to come back," he rushed out. I watched his retreating figure and got up from the wheelchair. I took down the gown I had placed on the top shelf of her closet. This was the dress I had prepared for my engagement party with Ryan Sterling a long time ago. But after the accident, Ryan Sterling had canceled the engagement party. At the time, he said it was to keep me from being overtired. Looking back now, it was probably because he already found me unfit for public appearance. Thankfully, now I finally had another chance to wear it to my real engagement party. After changing into the gown, a pair of pink underwear that didn't belong to me fell out from the bottom of the closet, still damp. My phone received a message from Brittany Davies. Olivia, you must have seen the little surprise I left for you, right? Ryan was so focused on pleasing me last night, he didn't notice you were awake, but I saw you crying. I really don't understand why you have to be so selfish. Since you've sponsored me for so many years, why can't you just give Ryan to me now? Don't you know, Ryan said he feels absolutely disgusting just thinking about doing that with you in the future. If I were you, I'd go kill myself right now and stop being a burden to Ryan. And you heard last night too, Ryan is taking me to his family gathering tonight. David, the one who calls the shots, and the Sterling family, is back. As long as I get along well with your fiancé, do you think a cripple like you can really marry into the Sterling family, or can I, who is already carrying the Sterling family bloodline? Perhaps my feelings for Ryan Sterling had completely vanished, because facing Brittany Davies' provocation now, my heart was completely still. Is that so? Since you're so confident, then I wish you success. After replying and putting away my phone, I put on my high heels and walked out of the mansion. Standing at the corner, I looked towards the mansion where Ryan Sterling was hiding her. I could see Ryan Sterling pressing Brittany Davies, half-dressed in her gown, against the balcony. So that's why he left in such a hurry earlier. I turned and took a cab to the hair and makeup salon. When I arrived at the estate entrance for the engagement party after getting ready, a fleet of luxury cars was already gathered, and news vans and reporters were arriving one after another. I walked into the main hall with steady steps, meeting Ryan Sterling and Brittany Davies, who had arrived at the same time. When Ryan Sterling saw me, he immediately panicked and shook off Brittany Davies' hand that was trying to hold his arm. The next second, he registered that I was standing, and his eyes filled with shocked surprise. Liv, when did you recover? That's great. Now you can finally be the most beautiful bride at my wedding. I'm so proud of you, Liv. He rushed over, wanting to hug me. I calmly stepped away and said sternly, Ryan Sterling, please maintain some distance. A flicker of confusion crossed Ryan Sterling's eyes, then he chuckled. Liv, it was my fault for not noticing how you were doing these past few days. I'm sorry, honey. All right, stop messing around. Come here and let your husband hug you. I still didn't move. Seeing this, Brittany Davies' eyes flashed with jealousy, and she quickly came over. Olivia, you can finally stand up. Britt. Annie is so happy for you. Wah. Brittany just knew that such a good person like Olivia would definitely be rewarded. She came rushing over, crying, trying to hug me, but just as she was about to touch me, she deliberately tripped herself and fell to the ground. Ah. Olivia, Brittany just wanted to congratulate you. Why? Why would you push me? Wah, Ryan, my stomach hurts so much. Ryan Sterling immediately pushed me away and nervously checked on Brittany Davies. He looked up at me, furious. Olivia, I didn't expect that these days of paralysis would turn you into a twisted, venomous woman, did it? As soon as you could stand, you started acting so overbearing. Brittany just wanted to congratulate you. Why would you hurt her for no reason? I said calmly, I didn't touch her at all. She tripped herself on purpose. Ryan Sterling became even more enraged at my words. You're still arguing. Why would Brittany try to frame you with something like this? She's already. Seeing Brittany Davies' unstoppable tears, the distress in Ryan Sterling's eyes was completely exposed. He shouted at me, Olivia, I command you to apologize to Brittany right now. Otherwise, I'll seriously have to reconsider whether someone with your character can even enter the Sterling family door. I remained unmoved. Ryan Sterling suddenly stood up and reached out to grab me to apologize. Just then, gasps erupted throughout the venue, and all the cameras and lights turned towards the entrance of the banquet hall. Under the gaze of everyone present, a tall figure appeared. David Sterling, dressed in a custom suit, walked in calmly and steadily, his resolute gaze directed at Ryan Sterling as he snapped, Who dares to touch David Sterling's fiancée? David Sterling's imposing presence instantly captured everyone's attention. Oh my gosh, is the Sterling family's eldest young master really that handsome? I've heard he's been devoted to his career abroad all these years, eh? Andy has never appeared in public. I thought he was just an ordinary-looking man, but seeing him today is just too captivating. Exactly. If it weren't for his engagement party today, I would definitely pester my father to arrange a marriage with him. Brittany Davies was also stunned, looking at David Sterling with eyes full of longing and shyness. I looked towards David Sterling, and my gaze met his as he looked at me over the crowd. Actually, I knew David Sterling even before Ryan Sterling. We were good friends for a time in our childhood, until he was 10 years old. His mother divorced Arthur Sterling, and he was taken abroad to live with her. From then on, we completely lost touch. 2 years ago, after I was injured and paralyzed, I was very surprised to receive his arranged marriage proposal sent to my parents. But at that time, I was deeply in love with Ryan Sterling, so I naturally refused him. I never expected that after all these twists and turns, I would actually be marrying this childhood friend. Others noticed David Sterling's gaze towards me and turned to look at me. Ha! Isn't the person the Sterling family's eldest young master is looking at the crippled fiancé their second young master was supposed to marry? She can stand up now. But the way they're looking at each other, it feels like they're the ones getting married. David Sterling quickly walked towards me. Ryan Sterling was stunned by David Sterling's words but still hadn't figured out what was happening. He just quickly apologized respectfully to David Sterling. David, I'm sorry to cause a scene on your big day. You said fiancé. Has your fiancé arrived? My fiancé here is a bit spoiled and willful. After I handle things here, I'll immediately take Liv to greet your fiancé. Seeing the situation, Brittany Davies also started crying and trying to gain David Sterling's sympathy. David, none of this is Olivia's fault. She's been paralyzed for many years, so it's understandable that she might feel resentful towards healthy girls like me. I can completely understand that. Today is David's important day after all, Olivia. I won't blame you. Ryan, don't clash with David anymore because of me. David Sterling sneered at her words. Do you think you're worthy of calling me David? At David Sterling's engagement party, besides the invited distinguished guests and important relatives, who brought trash like you, an ungrateful wretch, here. Brittany Davies's face turned pale. Ryan Sterling quickly shielded her. David, Brittany is a student Liv sponsored, sort of like our half-sister, that's why we brought her along today to see the world. Right, Liv? Ryan Sterling tried to pull me in to explain. I wasn't interested in vouching for this shameless couple and remained silent, not responding. Ryan Sterling immediately became anxious and reached out to grab me again. David Sterling's eyes narrowed, and a dozen personal bodyguards quickly surrounded us. He firmly wrapped his arm around me, asserting his claim. Ryan Sterling, have your manners and upbringing gone to the dogs? If you didn't hear me clearly, I'll ask you again, what do you think you're doing with this disrespectful attitude towards your fiancé? At this point, Ryan Sterling finally seemed to understand. He looked at me in disbelief, then at David Sterling. Arthur Sterling happened to walk over. David Sterling looked at me gently, then intertwined his fingers with mine and led me to Arthur Sterling. Father, this is my fiancée for today's engagement, Miss Olivia Montgomery. Impossible! This is absolutely impossible! Behind us, Ryan Sterling suddenly cried out in, losing control. Brittany Davies, who had been paralyzed on the ground, also widened her eyes and glared at me with clenched teeth. On the main stage's big screen, my name and David Sterling's name appeared prominently. The entire crowd gasped in surprise. Ryan Sterling could no longer control himself and rushed towards me. Liv, tell me, this is all a misunderstanding, right? Why would you marry David out of nowhere? You clearly love me the most, don't you? I sneered. Out of nowhere? Ryan Sterling, do you know what I saw in the hospital that day? Ryan Sterling realized something, and the blood drained from his face. No, Liv, no matter what you saw, I can explain it. I scoffed lightly and gave a look to a staff member nearby. Suddenly, the screen changed to surveillance footage from the hospital. It clearly showed Brittany Davies pulling Ryan Sterling into the accessible restroom, and their unrestrained gasping sounds were broadcast loud and clear. Oh my God! The Sterling family's second young master is having an affair with someone in a place like a hospital. That's just utterly depraved. Exactly. That's why they say like mother, like son. Back then, the current Mrs. Sterling only got into the Sterling family because she was Mr. Sterling's mistress and got pregnant with the second young master. And the son she raised turns out to be someone who likes cheating and betrayal. And I heard that Miss Olivia was injured trying to save the second young master before. Such an ungrateful man is truly absolutely disgusting. The venue was filled with accusations, but Ryan Sterling seemed oblivious. He struggled to break free from the bodyguard's restraint. No, Liv, the baby in Brittany Davies' belly isn't mine. She got pregnant by another man, so she came to beg me to pretend to be the father of her child. Really, please believe me, Liv. Ryan Sterling's efforts to make excuses truly surpassed my imagination. I looked him straight in the eye and said calmly, "Is that so? Then how do you explain you holding her and carrying on by my bed last night? Are you saying someone else controlled you and forced you to be with her?" Ryan Sterling's pretense finally couldn't hold up. The color drained from his face. "Last night, you were awake all along last night, Liv. Liv, I just wanted to save our intimacy for after the wedding. You are the most precious treasure in my heart, that's why I just found her to casually satisfy my physiological needs. Brittany Davies is just a tool for release to me, someone I can discard anytime. You are the only one in my heart, and I've always only loved you, Liv." Before I could respond, Brittany Davies couldn't stand it anymore. She reached out to question Ryan Sterling but was just pushed away. I almost forgot about this ungrateful wretch. I signaled with my eyes, and the big screen then displayed the various large sum transfers I had made to sponsor Brittany Davies over the years, as well as the text messages from that afternoon where she had provoked me and told me to kill myself. The discussions in the crowd were already completely unrestrained with anger. There are still ungrateful wretches like this nowadays who push their luck. Eating and using what belongs to others, then stealing someone else's fiancé, and daring to be so arrogant. Which school or workplace is she from? This disgusting behavior must be exposed to give her social ruin. Seeing her true face exposed, Brittany Davies still wanted to curse at me, but Ryan Sterling slapped her heavily to the ground. "You shameless wretch! I was just having fun with you. How dare you say such things to my Liv?" Ryan Sterling grabbed her hair and looked at me pleadingly. "Liv, I'll get rid of the bastard in this woman's belly right now. Please forgive me this one time. Then we'll get married immediately and have a good life together, okay?" I smiled. "Ryan Sterling, why do you think I would still choose you, a man dirty through and through? And don't forget, today is my engagement party with David Sterling." At this moment, David Sterling gently wrapped his arm around my waist. "Mrs. Sterling, it's almost time. Let's go on stage together." "No! Liv, you can't get engaged to David. I absolutely won't allow you to marry him." Ryan Sterling desperately tried to rush over, but a dozen bodyguards held him back. His struggles were futile. David Sterling and I went onto the main stage, officially announced our engagement, and exchanged engagement rings. As for those causing a scene, they were quickly escorted out. After finishing interviews with the reporters, David Sterling and I stepped down. "I'm sorry, it was supposed to be our engagement party, but I caused so many unrelated issues." David Sterling simply pulled me into his arms. "Liv, no need to apologize. I arrived too late, which is why you had to suffer so much hardship unnecessarily." Although I still didn't understand why David Sterling was willing to marry me in an arranged marriage, his comfort at this moment finally allowed me to release my tense nerves and feel a sense of reliable security. His friend came over with champagne to congratulate us, his words full of relief. "Brittany, you wouldn't believe it. 2 years ago, when you didn't choose him, this guy drank heavily for a week. He's always been a workaholic, only focused on his career. That week was the most out of control I've ever seen him. But after getting through that period, he shifted his career focus to Switzerland and invested all his funds into the research of rehabilitation medical equipment. Honestly, if I were a girl, I'd definitely fall for someone so devoted. Switzerland? I suddenly remembered that the location of the company that my doctor said provided the free trial medical equipment these past 2 years seemed to be Switzerland. I turned to look at David Sterling. Could your company be? Switzerland Moonlight Medical Group. His friend smiled and patted his shoulder, leaving us some space. David Sterling looked at me deeply, then after a moment, slowly nodded. That's right, Nyenue is my group. I had absolutely no idea that David Sterling had done so much for me behind the scenes. It's fair to say that without the treatment plan and medical equipment provided by Switzerland over these 2 years, I wouldn't have been able to stand up again so quickly. But, why are you so good to me? David Sterling held my hand tightly and sighed. Liv, I fell for you when I was a child, even before I left with my mother. Unfortunately, I was too young then, and I didn't expect that one separation would last for decades. When I became an adult, with a stable foundation, and was ready to return home to find you, my mother became seriously ill and needed my care and companionship. Then later, I heard you were deeply in love with my younger brother. I felt I had ultimately missed my chance and decided to just quietly protect you for the rest of my life. That arranged marriage request was my last attempt, made without much hope. Thankfully, heaven was kind to me and finally answered my prayer 2 years later. Just listening to him, I couldn't help but feel heartbroken for David Sterling. How did he get through those lonely years, time and time again? I'm sorry I made you wait so long. I initiated a hug with David Sterling, feeling his body instinctively stiffen, and then he hugged me back, deeper and tighter. He kissed my forehead tenderly and hesitated before saying, actually, these past 2 years, I've also been investigating the truth behind the accident that injured you. During that time, I also discovered Ryan Sterling and Brittany Davies' betrayal of you, but I didn't know how to tell you without hurting you. If only I had known my brother would treat you this way, I would have fought to take you back from the start. Now that you've discovered the betrayal yourself, Liv, what if I told you there was also something suspicious about the accident that happened to you? Could you handle it right now? But don't worry, no matter how you feel, I'm here now, and no matter what happens, I will always support you and never let you fall into a helpless situation again. I looked up in surprise. The accident that had paralyzed me wasn't an accident after all? I took a deep breath and leaned into his embrace. It's all right. With you here now, I'm not afraid of any storm. Just then, a commotion suddenly erupted outside. A group of reporters rushed anxiously towards the estate courtyard. A bodyguard came running to report. Mr. Sterling, the second young master is causing a scene outside. It looks like he might kill someone. David Sterling's eyes narrowed. He looked at me, seeking my opinion. After I nodded, he put his arm around me and walked outside, while instructing the bodyguard, "We're going out to see what's happening. Go bring the accident suspect we recently found. It's time to settle the score for everything these people have done to harm Liv." David Sterling and I arrived in the courtyard. By now, the ground was covered in bloodstains. Brittany Davies was whimpering on the ground, and Ryan Sterling was kicking her belly like a madman. "It's all your fault. If it weren't for you, why would my Liv leave me? You and your bastard child can both go to hell." David Sterling signaled with his eyes, and the bodyguards went up to pull Ryan Sterling away. When Ryan Sterling saw me, his eyes were filled with scarlet madness. "Liv, do you see my determination? I won't keep this vicious woman and this bastard. I love you. I absolutely cannot lose you." I hid behind David Sterling. The current Ryan Sterling was so unfamiliar that he frightened me. A man over 50 years old was brought to the scene by a few bodyguards. As soon as he saw Brittany Davies on the ground, the old man's eyes lit up. "Well, you little, cheap girl. I finally found you. Before, you told me to help you hit someone, and you clearly promised me a large sum of money after I served a few months for accidental hit and run. But after getting out of prison, you really made me look for you. If you don't give me the money today, watch out or I won't be due any with you. I looked at him and Brittany Davies in disbelief. David Sterling explained in due course, this is Brittany Davies' father. The accident 2 years ago was instigated by Brittany Davies, who told her father to hit you. And her target was you from the beginning. It was just a coincidence that Ryan Sterling was also there at the time, and her father almost hit the wrong person, which is why I couldn't imagine that Brittany Davies' malice towards me was so great, to the extent that she had planned to kill me long ago. Why would you do this to me? Brittany Davies spat at me fiercely. Why? How dare you ask why? Why were you born a rich young lady, while I could only be a poor girl from a remote mountain town? And since you were going to sponsor me, you should have given me everything. Not just pretend to generously give me your unwanted pocket money every month. The only thing I regret now is that this useless old man didn't manage to hit you dead back then. I also didn't expect that even though you were paralyzed, Ryan Sterling still wanted to marry you. I was finally going to rise in status through my child this time. Why did you have to come and ruin my good fortune? I hate you. I wish I could kill you myself right now. I never expected that the kindness I had shown with a full heart had unknowingly nurtured a sharp sword that was ruthlessly stabbing me. David Sterling held me, his heart aching. Just then, Ryan Sterling broke free and gave Brittany Davies a heavy kick. So you were the mastermind behind all of this. You made Liv suffer so much because of this. Even if Liv is soft-hearted and lets you go, I will never let you go. Brittany Davies slammed against a nearby stone block, and blood immediately spread below her. No, my baby! At this moment, Mike, Ryan Sterling's best friend who had excitedly said he would be the baby's godfather at the mansion, rushed to the scene. Seeing the situation, he immediately dashed out. He held Brittany Davies and yelled at Ryan Sterling in a frenzy. Ryan Sterling! How could you do such a vicious thing to your own child? Miss Brittany did all this for you. How could you hurt her like this? Everyone present realized how strange this scene was. My second brother's own child? Mike, I don't think so. David Sterling raised his hand and had his assistant play a video. In the video, Mike kissed Brittany Davies right at the entrance of the mansion. Following that were scenes of the two of them having secret affairs in various parts of the mansion on different days and in different outfits. Then the assistant held up a prenatal paternity test report, which showed that the fetus in Brittany Davies' belly had no biological relationship with Ryan Sterling. Ryan Sterling's eyes were splitting with rage. The betrayer finally tasted the feeling of being betrayed. He tightly clutched Mike's collar. I thought you were my best friend, and you went behind my back doing this. Not only did you cuckold me, but you also wanted me to raise your child. What do you take me for? Mike bit his lip and didn't answer. But Brittany Davies laughed wildly and pulled out a diagnosis report for azoospermia on her phone. It's because you're a useless man who can't have children. Of course, I had to find a donor from your good friends to have a chance to marry into the Sterling family. But now everything is ruined. But it doesn't matter, my baby can be conceived again. But Ryan Sterling, you will never be able to have your own flesh and blood in this lifetime. Ha ha ha. This is your retribution. The three of them devolved into a chaotic fight, cursing each other. The guests covered their mouths, shocked as they listened to these high society scandals. The reporters' cameras and recording pens didn't stop for a second, afraid of missing any detail. Finally, the police arrived at the scene and managed to stop the three from fighting and cursing each other, taking them, along with Brittany Davies' father, back to the station for investigation. Later, Brittany Davies and her father were sentenced to 10 years in prison for jointly committing attempted murder resulting in serious injury. Ryan Sterling was sentenced to 3 years in prison for battery. Eleanor Sterling also completely lost her status in the Sterling family due to Ryan Sterling's infertility and was soon divorced and removed from the family by Arthur Sterling. As for me, I completely left those rotten people and rotten matters behind. I walked determinedly onto the wedding red carpet with David Sterling and solemnly said I do at the wedding of the century, broadcast globally, thus embarking on my new, happy life.